Well, I'm in a really small minority, Neil. I don't think the report should be released at all, and I'm frankly surprised that so many Republicans think it should be.
Sure, what you're saying the media got wrong, but the media reported what the investigation was going on. Other than the people in the media on the left, not on this network, I don't know anybody who got anything wrong. We didn't say that there was conspiracy. We said that Mueller was investigating conspiracy.
So Fox News personalities, not surprisingly, are insisting that they are the paragons of journalism in that, journalism virtue in that they didn't obsess over Mueller the way others did. But in my opinion, Fox is not the antidote to this problem. It is the sedative. It is like the roofie.
Here to discuss all of this, Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
Joe, the William Barr is promising a redacted report by mid-April. Trey Gowdy, you heard him there opposing this. He opposes the release of the Mueller report. He says Democrats are going to use it against the president, even though supposedly there's nothing in it. They're going to use it against him. Why give them the weapon? Do you agree with Trey Gowdy?
Oh, I don't know. You know, Trey Gowdy is kind of an afterthought. I really don't listen to him very much. He was a lousy chairman, and he's an even more lousy commentator. But that said, Attorney General Barr has said he's going to release a version of the Mueller report by mid-April. He will take out things that can't be reported publicly. The Democrats will be unhappy. They will complain about it. They will claim Barr is covering up. Nothing's going to change. So this will continue. The Democrats have a new narrative, which is that Barr was put in place to protect the president. They're nuts. They're all nuts. And listening to Jake Tapper talk about they got nothing wrong at CNN is like, that is pure mental illness you're listening to. That is delusional, and it's bad for journalism. But I guess those folks at CNN just don't care about journalism.
I've been a little confused, Joe, as I've watched that. You know, it's funny, on CNN, this is not the first time this happened in the last week. Jake Tapper's done this move. Chris Cuomo asked, I think, a Trump official, what did we get wrong? What did we get wrong? And I've been a little surprised, actually, that the CNN critics who go on those networks, to include Mick Mulvaney, didn't have an answer ready. Here are the three things you screwed up. One of them, Jake Tapper's byline was on, and it was claiming that James Comey was going to testify that he did not tell Trump 3 times that he wasn't under investigation, when in fact he did. And that was a giant screw-up by CNN.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that people aren't prepared to deal with things because most of the people who come on and defend the administration don't do a very good job. I can tell you, as someone who has been defending the president for more than 2 years, that you go on and it's fairly easy pickings to deal with the criticisms of the president. But the people around him aren't necessarily the best people to defend him. And I'm just not surprised that they're not ready, because they usually aren't.
So let me ask you a little bit more about the defense that Democrats are mounting. You mentioned that this idea that, you handpicked Bill Barr to defend the president of the United States from the Mueller report. But the thing that people seem to be missing is that Rod Rosenstein had a hand in the letter that Barr wrote, correct?
Yes. As you know, everybody expected Rod Rosenstein to leave the department about a month ago, but that didn't happen because Bill Barr said to him, Rod, you're not going anywhere. You started this mess. You improperly and illegally appointed Mueller with no evidence that a crime had been committed. You did it out of a fit of pique because you didn't like what the president told Lester Holt in his interview with him when he said that the Russian probe was in the back of his mind when he fired Comey, even though he was firing Comey for insubordination, violating the law, et cetera, et cetera. The Rosenstein was there and was forced to participate in this process of receiving the report, releasing it, and later explaining it to the public, because this is his Rosemary's Baby. This mess that he created for the President of the United States, Rod Rosenstein, is the mess that he is being required to clean up. It's the least he can do. He is one of the most fundamentally dishonest public officials in the history of our country, and to watch him be forced to go through this and tell the truth about his own errant behavior is wonderful. It couldn't happen to a nicer sleazeball.
Senator Amy Klobuchar is trying to get unanimous consent for the Senate to pass a non-binding resolution calling for special counsel Robert Mueller's report to be made public. Rand Paul blocked this because Klobuchar wouldn't agree to amend the resolution to include provisions calling for the public release of communications between President Obama, James Comey, John Brennan. That's what the Republicans want to see. Now I think we all want to see that. Are we going to see any of that? We know the Mueller report will be leaked. We know that. We know Adam Schiff's going to run right to the media. What about that background information that we all want to see? Will we see it?
Well, I think it's most important that we get beyond the Mueller report and get into an investigation of the Obama administration, Justice Department, FBI, and intelligence services. It's pretty obvious that Brennan, Clapper, Sally Yates, John Carlin, the Assistant Attorney General for the National Security Division, Comey, McCabe, and a group of other people got together and with no evidence whatsoever decided they were going to derail the presidency of Donald Trump. That is treasonous. It is subversive. It needs to be investigated, not by a committee, not by a national commission, but by a federal grand jury. We may never see all of the documents that Rand Paul wants released, but we probably will. And the reason is that, as you will recall, on January the 20th, 2017, Inauguration Day, Susan Rice wrote that famous email to herself memorializing a January 5th meeting in the Oval Office with the Vice President, the President, Clapper, Brennan, Yates, Comey, and a number of other people, including Susan Rice, to discuss the Russian hacking investigation, and that the President wanted to make sure that everybody knew that everything that they had done was done, quote, by the book, end quote. Now, why do you write that memo? To create a false narrative that everything you did was by the book, knowing that everything you did wasn't by the book. Rand Paul has it right. We need a federal grand jury, and I assume that Bill Barr is not going to let this moment pass.
Well, we will find out if you're psychic. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think this whole thing is just getting started. I think in the next 2 years we're going to see so much more come out. This is just getting started now. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning.
You bet.